name's Travis Dafo, and I have here with me Bora Billen.
Hello.
We'll be the ones doing the presentation and demonstration for today. At this point, everybody should be able to see our screen and the two logos and icons on it.
Yep, looks good.
A little bit about the organization just to start off with, general overview. Our organization, Payment Software, Payment Solution, sorry, is the parent company of Payment Software, formerly referred to as AK Microsystems. We were established in 1987 in the specialization of payroll and human resource and time and attendance software solutions. This is all that we do and all that we develop. So the benefit of working with our organization and working in tandem with SAP is the fact you are getting an organization and a software geared and dedicated to this particular area and functionality of your business. And therefore the support that we provide as well is geared and oriented towards a specific solution as well. Our office is out of Richmond Hill, Ontario, so we do have local offices and all support is in the local area. We don't outsource our offices and our support out to India or any other locations. It's all local in the North American continent. The software itself is available for both Canadian and US versions of the software, and both English as well as French. And we cover all provinces, states, and territories within Canada and the United States as well. Ultimately, the goal of Paymate is to provide an easy-to-use, easy-to-manage and maintain, and cost-effective payroll and HR software solution, so that way your staff and employees can not only use it but on an easy basis, but it can handle all requirements in regards to your payroll, from the simplest regular 1, 2, 3 employee salary employees payroll to the most complex 5, 6, 10,000 employees with 7 or 8 unions and multiple work contribution codes as well. So from a simple payroll to a complex payroll, the Clarity system provides the ability of handling that payroll as you required and still provides the ability of handling that payroll in a simple and easy-to-use fashion and in a very cost-effective way as well. The general agenda for today's demonstration, I'm going to start off with a live product demonstration of the Clarity Payroll and Human Resources components. We will then pass the demonstration over to Bora, who will be managing the time and attendance and scheduling components of the software. And then finally, we'll end with a question and answer period at the end of the demonstration. Okay. So at this point, everybody should see the main Clarity program up on the screen. So within the Clarity application itself, one of the major benefits of the program is that it does run on a SQL Server application environment, database environment. The benefit of this is that that's the same environment that you run your SAP system on. So your IT department or managerial department aren't dealing with two different database engines, two different systems. They're running with the same and similar systems. This helps maintenance of the software, both ours and the SAP system, easy to manage and easy to maintain just on a basic level because they are all based on the same systems, one technology, one level of education. Within the Clarity program, like SAP, you are able to have multiple companies within your system environment as well. This might be the need for multiple legal entities in your environment or just the ability of creating test or sandbox companies, as it were, to try or practice new policies and procedures or to create test environments to train your staff coming on the organization. So there's no limitation on how many companies you have within Clarity. Ultimately, once you're in the application, you will have full control over the management and maintenance of the software itself. And through this, I mean you have the ability of defining all the details on how the company will be maintained, set up, and configured. And I'm just going to open a few screens at the same time here. So what you're able to do within the program, just at the most basic level, is you are able to fully define your company definition. Name, phone number, address, contact details, who's in charge of your organization, and you can also record all your taxation information. This screen would be slightly different for Canadian version of the software and the US version of the software. In the Canadian version of the software, you'd be able to define multiple business numbers within a single entity. So if you have more than one business number or business entity, you can set them up this way instead of having multiple companies to select from. In both systems, Canadian and US, you'd be able to define what provinces or states or territories that company deals with or has to relate taxes to. So there's no limitation on how you go about setting that system up. You can have a one state, one company configuration, or it can be multi-state, multi-province, one company configuration. So you can set them up as you require. The Clarity program would also allow you to fully define your organizational definition, be it a multi-tier division with multiple departments assigned. You can have additional locations if you have more than one physical office location to record where the employees are actually allocating their time or wages against. The division department definitions have added features and abilities in the fact that all of the reports in the software can be limited by the department or the division, which makes up multiple departments. So you can limit all the reports by one of those classifications if you so desire. You also have the ability that within Clarity you can define your general ledger accounting based on the departmental information in the system, which we'll talk a little bit more later. But ultimately what that provides you the ability of doing is it will provide you the ability of simplifying your payroll setup, because unlike other solutions where you would have to have an hourly wage category for your administrative staff and an hourly wage category for your sales staff and an hourly wage category for your technical staff or support staff, in order to have them report to different GL account codes, Clarity allows you to find the general ledger account codes based on the relationship of payroll category and organizational tier. This allows you to maintain singular categories but still have the broken down analytical detail of the general ledger accounting as you so desire it. So it keeps your reporting simpler as well, because now you only need to worry about one category for reports, one category for setup and maintenance, but you still get that detailed and analytical breakdowns. Your payroll group classification software are a core setup and configuration point of the application, providing you the ability of defining the frequency of the payroll within the organization. You can have multiple payroll groups. There's no limitation to how many you have. They can be of different styles. So you can see here I have a monthly payroll group, 2 bi-weeklies, and a weekly payroll group in the system. So I can have some employees spread across each of those different frequencies. The benefit of the calendar definitions is it does give you a structured payroll calendar with fixed start date and end dates, and then suggested pay dates for each of those periods of time. Payroll within Clarity can be processed for any pay period as many times as you want. So even though you're getting a structured calendar of start date and end dates, you can process payroll for a particular pay period more than once. And each time the payroll is processed for that period, an additional record will be saved or maintained for that employee within their historical transactions. So unlike other solutions where if you add another payroll, it just merges it to the previous pay for that same period, and you lose the ability of doing any reporting on that particular payment. Every time you do payroll in Clarity, it saves it as a separate record in the system. Regardless of the payroll for that period had already been done or not, that record is saved as a brand new and independent transaction. This provides the ability that you have the flexibility and Clarity to run reports on that specific record. You have the ability of exporting that individual transaction or record out to your SAP accounting system independent of the records that have already been sent. And furthermore, Clarity will track which records have and which records have not actually been exported to your SAP accounting system. So that way, when you do add a new record to a period that's already been done before, the system will know which one has and has not gone out to SAP. And when you go in to, say, send the transactions, it will know which ones it needs to send and which ones it's already done. So it gives it all that ability, that flexibility that you can do payroll whenever you want. It does allow you to process payroll multiple times, but it does track it as separate and independent records. The benefit here as well is that processing a payroll, regardless of what you're doing, whether it's a bonus run, an advance, severance, vacation payout, regular payroll, bonus payments, it doesn't matter what you're paying the employer, why you're processing payroll. The process from start to finish is the same every single time. So you only need to know one method or policy in doing payroll, and that covers every need and every requirement you'll ever have in their system. One of the other major benefits of having that structured calendar for both Canada and the U.S. is that because you have a structured calendar, the software will be able to accurately and easily and properly produce the reports based on period of time. So in the Canadian version, your record of employments that have to report the wages on a period of time are properly produced automatically by the software. There's no manipulation that you need to do because the system properly tracks the records. The pensionable weeks on your T4s are properly reported. Your 941 Schedule Bs for the U.S., wages and the dates in which they were paid and processed are also automatically and properly reported because that information is properly tracked for you, and you don't need to worry about any manipulation of those reports after the fact. So that's another added benefit of that structured calendar in the system. You can have an unlimited number of payroll categories as well. So not only can you maintain your calendar and have an unlimited number of payrolls for that calendar and process it whenever you want, but you can also have an unlimited number of payroll categories, processing any payment styles, employer contributions to health and medical plans or dental plans, automatic contributions or calculations of garnishment based on a percentage of the employee's gross or net pay based on whatever your policy is. These can all automatically be handled in the system. Formula-based categories for the garnishments to calculate a percentage of the employee's wages. The accrual of vacation or sick pay or banked overtime or lieu time or FMLA can also be tracked within the application. They can be flagged as percentages of the employee's wages, fixed amounts per pay or per period of time, and they can also be scripted to automate the calculation of their value based on other conditions or values in the system. For example, I might have a pension plan contribution where the value of the pension plan has a fixed amount, and then there's an additional premium applied to those pension costs based on whether the employee is male or female, over the age of 70 or over the age of 70, 50, 30, 20. So here I have an example where I have a script that takes a base dollar value of 50. If the employee is male, they have to pay an extra 10%. If they're over 70, they pay an extra 15% on top of that. If they're over 50, an extra 10%. If they're over 30, an extra 5%. And if they're under 20, they get a 5% discount on the original premium. So the system can automatically calculate that for you, checking the values from payroll to payroll and using any definition that's in your system. So this can use things like full-time equivalency definitions, whether the employee was considered a full-time or part-time employee, what percentage of full-time equivalency did the employee have if they weren't full-time. You can see what benefit plans they're enrolled in. You can see when they were hired or check their seniority dates to see if they've reached the seniority classification or not. You can check the values of other categories in the system to see whether the employee was paid a bonus, and maybe then only the condition applies. So all of these definitions can be checked and automated in your system. So any pre-processing reporting or tracking you're doing today in Excel spreadsheets or reports or text documents, doesn't matter what, can all be obliterated because they can automatically be handled within the Clarity program, either through the basic definitions of formulas or scripted payroll codes. Scripted categories can be written by you, or you can get your SAP partners to write them for you, or you can have us write them for you directly. You would be trained on how they work so that you understand how to maintain them yourselves as well. It's not just we are the only ones allowed to do it. You have full control. It's your system. The management of the employee records in the system is also a centralized definition and can be shared between all modules in the program and synchronized between the payroll and time and attendance, so you don't have to manually key the records into both systems. The employee management provides the ability of loading and recording all the details about the employee, names, phone numbers, addresses, even uploading a photo of the individual employee as well. We can record where they belong in the organization, their payroll definitions, their hire dates, and return dates if the employee has left and returned to the organization. The recording of bank account information for direct deposit can also be reported, and the software will automatically calculate how much money shall go to each bank account for each employee. Every employee is also awarded what's called a master pay card, allowing you to define the value of a category in relationship to the employee. Once again, like the ability and Clarity to assign the general ledger account codes to a category based on the departmental configuration, Clarity provides the simplification that you can define the value of a category in relationship to an employee. This provides the ability that you can have one category to manage multiple percentage rates for garnishment, one category to manage multiple percentages for vacation. You can have one category to manage the contributions to health or medical plans based on a percent or fixed amount by employee by the employer. And with one category, we can define the values for every employee in the system. Again, keeping the system clean and easy to use, and the maintenance simple. Processing a payroll as simple as saying, I want to start payroll, and choosing the payroll group and the period of time in which you want to do payroll for. You have the added ability that you can override the payroll dates to do bonuses or advances as necessary, or change the payroll categories at will or not be included in that payroll. So therefore, if you turn around and say, yeah, I'm not doing bonuses or expenses in this particular pay, you can simply uncheck them, and they will be excluded from that particular processing. Once payroll is selected, you have two different ways of doing payroll. One is through a method called job costing. Job costing provides the ability that you can specify record for an employee, specify a specific date of work, choose the payroll category which you want to pay, and break down the wages for the employee by a job or project the employee works on, position or cost center that they're participating in, the department that they're working on, or maybe just free-form comments. Through job costing, you have the ability of specifying which fields you want to record and which ones you want to ignore. So you see a lot of fields here, but if you're simply saying, well, I would like to know in payroll and break it down by date, then you can tell the system and disable these other fields. So that way the only thing you're entering in job costing is what day they worked and how much they earned. And then that's it. For those organizations doing cost allocation, project tracking, or distribution, or departmental allocation of labor, you can distribute all the expenses that the employee has earned in relationship to payroll to the jobs, projects, or departments in which they were incurred by doing job costing or having the information come into job costing and using the features like automatic cost allocation, which will automatically distribute the additional costs like benefits and your payroll taxes, the CPP and employer portion of CPP, EI, state and social security tax, medical care tax, unemployment insurance as well, will automatically take the employer portion of those costs and distribute to where the employee earned them through a feature called automatic cost allocation. If you're not doing job costing, you can always go directly to pay cards, in which case you can manually add a transaction or a payroll record for an employee, or you can batch the payroll based on assigned defaults. By entering a value in for the employee, anything based on that particular category will automatically be recalculated. So as soon as I change the salary for an employee, the federal and provincial taxes and state taxes and Social Security and garnishments would automatically update to reflect the value for that employee. This provides the ability that I can do this for a live payroll, and I can also do it as a preview payroll. So I don't have to do something special to test or preview my payroll. Both job costing and payroll have the ability of batching, to batch based on the assigned defaults, or to create the payroll transactions based on the time and attendance records, which Bora will show you in a little bit later. You can do a peer review of your journal, which provides you a payroll register or journal showing the values of everything in relationship to your payroll, and a summarized total for the company. You furthermore have the ability of doing the printing of the checks or pay stubs or promoting a greener company environment by emailing them to the employees. This can be mixed, where some employees receive it print and some get it emailed within a single group. So you don't have to do the payroll separately, just for distributing separately. A sample of a printed check and pay stub can be now seen on the screen, check on top and pay stub on the bottom. The Clarity program does provide you a report building system where you can create your own customized reports and custom check pay stub layouts. So if the check stock layout or pay stub layout that you're using today does not conform to our standard default layouts, you can always have your own customized layouts made to match what you're currently using today. So there's nothing saying that this is the layout and you're stuck with this layout. You can create any layout that you want. Ultimately, once the payroll is said and done, you've created your bank file for direct deposit and sent it off to the bank, which the software will automatically create that file for you. And you've posted the payroll to make them permanent records in history. You'll then be able to export the payroll transactions out to your SAP Business One accounting system. Through the export, you will be able to specify the currency code, whether you're sending it out as regular dollars. You can specify whether the employee information should be included in the journal entries, what the general remark that's going to appear in SAP is going to be, and which SAP Business One you want to connect to. So if you have multiple companies in SAP, you can specify which company to connect to. This will create an unposted journal voucher within SAP Business One, which you can then log into and post at your convenience. The payroll system itself provides a variety of different reports, including your government remittance or tax liability report. All reports provide you the ability of limiting the content based on the department, pay group, business number, the division, date ranges. They all can limit the contents based on any parameters you specify. Things like government remittance report tell you what you owe in relationship to your taxes, federal, state, provincial, CVP, Social Security, care, and more. They would also tell you the gross values for each of those codes. All reports in the program can also be printed to a file, be a PDF, Word, Excel, or even straight text. That helps to make it easier to distribute those reports to supervisors, managers, CEOs, executives, or shareholders. Within Clarity, you not only can produce the payroll reports in general, and as I said earlier, you can create your own custom, but you can also produce all your necessary tax reports. So the record of employment can be created as well as reported to the government through the Record of Employment ROE Web online submission. This also holds true for T4s, T4As, Relevé 1s, W2s, 941s, and your federal and state unemployment reports can all be printed and electronically filed. When printing, you have the opportunity of specifying whether you want to print on pre-printed government forms for Canada, or both in Canada-US, you would print on blank paper. When printing on blank paper, the software will automatically print the image of the form. So this means you can just get regular everyday paper or perforated paper, so you can easily separate the image, the reports. But it will automatically load all the payroll historical information to produce those reports. Now, Clarity also has a human resource module. And through the human resources module, we can add additional information and details about the employee. Through the HR module, we can track benefit enrollment information, what plans the employee is enrolled in, when they start, also when they end, and why they are inactive. You have full control over the style, the types of plans you record, and the reasons why the employee has waived the plan or changed the plan themselves. HR provides the added ability of tracking the property that the employee is in possession of, and the skills that the employee has within the organization, and the number of years with that skill set, and the knowledge level or capability with that skill set as well. Every area of HR provides the ability of loading and attaching document to that particular record, allowing you to record the details or add notes, letter of references, termination interview records, notes from the manager, to any record in the HR system, to any particular record and within the system itself. Those attachments can be anything from PDFs, Word files, Excels, audio files, even video files, if need be. Additional components of HR include the tracking and recording of the training the employee is undergoing, undergone, or to undergo, past, present, and future. In which case, the system will automatically create notifications when the employee has training, certifications, or education that needs to be renewed or refreshed. You'll automatically get notified saying, hey, this employee needs this updated. The tracking of accidents or incidences, when they occurred, what was the cause and who was involved, time lost and costs. Disciplinary actions, suspensions, grievances, dismissals, warnings. You can create as many records as you want and record as many records as you want against an employee. So the proper tracking of disciplinary actions, grievances, and warnings against employees in unionized environments can properly be recorded so that when the employee is dismissed, you can show due diligence in the fact that warnings and suspensions and dismissals were given. And you can load those attachment documents for those written warnings as well. HR itself provides over 100 different styles of reports and graphs, where you can run headcount analysis reports, accident analysis reports based on the different locations in the company, time lost, cost. You can run reports based on the benefit enrollment, who's enrolled in the plans, what do they cost, based on the enrollment? What do they cost based on the actual payroll contribution calculations? And all these reports can also be done in graphical format, where you can run graphs in bar graphs, line graphs, 2D, or pie charts in 3D. These graphs and reports, like those in payroll, can be printed to a file for easily distribution to the management or the supervisors of the employees to show, hey, your employees have the highest number of accidents in the organization, or we have more females than males, or males and females within this location of the company, and that needs to be corrected or not corrected, or promoted if necessary. All right, so at this time, I'll be passing it over to Bora for the time and attendance portion of the demonstration.
Great. Thank you, Travis, for the great presentation. Good morning, everyone. My name is Bora Bilgin, and I will be showing you the time and attendance portion of our application. All right. Time and attendance, along with employee self-service, are two big modules of our application. And although they feed the payroll module, they have a lot of features to help your organization track your time records. So today what I would like to do is I would like to go over this short PowerPoint presentation and give you a conceptual overview of our features in our time and attendance application. And then, as time permits, I will log into the application and show you the features and do a live demonstration. So to give you a little bit of product overview, our time and attendance application is a web-based application. So this gives you many different installation options. You can install it on your office and limit your access to your office only, so your employees can only access it from your office. Or you can install it to your web server and allow your employees to access it from anywhere where they have an internet connection. The application is built on top of the latest web technologies. We have HTML5 and CSS3 on the front end. And in the back end, we have Microsoft SQL Server 2008 R2 and Microsoft.NET version 4.5. And since this is a web application, we support all the major browsers, including Microsoft Internet Explorer, Mozilla Firefox, Apple Safari, Google Chrome, and Opera. So if you're using any of these browsers, you can access the application and use it. One of our focuses while developing the application was making it fully usable by mobile tablet devices such as iPads, BlackBerry Playbooks, and as well as smartphones like iPhones and Android-based devices. So you can access our web time and attendance application from these mobile devices as well. A little bit of the features. Well, the application, the time and attendance module allows you to record work time. You can do project management. If you have job costing or labor distribution in your payroll application, you can use our project management tool to record your employees' work time against projects or tasks. If you're going to use the scheduler, you can specify your shifts, regular shifts or rotating shifts, and breaks, such as paid breaks, unpaid breaks, and your employees can log into the application and view their schedules immediately as their managers define them. The application helps you define your time off types, so you can do time of management, vacation, sick days, any kind of time off that you allow your employees to take. And the application can do overtime calculation based on your predefined formulas as your state or province dictates. And we have a multi-level approval hierarchy in the system, which means anything coming from the employees, any timesheet submissions, any time off requests, any clock in and out records can be subject to approval by your managers. And you can have multiple managers set up in the system. So let's say a time off request can be approved by a field manager first, then it can go to the department manager and so on. So it is totally based on your hierarchy and you have full control over it. And we offer over 35 free reports in the system, and our reporting framework is very easy to use, very customizable. Without going into the database, without learning any technical programming languages or anything, you can just configure our reports visually and create new reports very easily. There are a few different ways of recording time in the system, but all these ways at the end feed into the employee's timesheet. So there are different ways to create a timesheet for the employee. You can select, you can use one of them or more than one. Or let's say if you have salaried employees and hourly employees, they can use different ways. So the first way of recording time is employees can clock in and out from the application. So this is ideal for hourly employees. If you have jobs or activities that you want to track precisely, your employees can clock in and out. And when they clock in and out from the system, they can associate their work time with a project or an activity. Again, very useful feature we have here. You can use your tablet devices or smartphones to clock in and out from the application. So let's say if you have a tablet device installed in your office, entry and exit locations, your employees can clock in and out from those devices. Employees can log into the system and create their timesheets. They can do this day by day, or they can do this for the whole timesheet period, which is a quicker way of creating timesheets. If the employee has a schedule assigned, they can create their timesheets from their schedule. So this is ideal for salaried employees. If you don't want your employees to interact with the system at all, your managers can create timesheets for employees as well. And if you already have invested in a hardware time clock system, we can import clock in and out records from your hardware time clocks as well. And finally, one thing we have in the application is we don't deal with rate of pay in time and attendance. We let you deal with rate of pay in your payroll application or your job costing application. This gives you the ability to update the rate of pay in one application only. So you're not going to deal with an hourly rate of an employee in payroll application and time and attendance application. This is not necessary. What happens is when the employee records a time entry, we link this entry to a project or an activity, and then by using special codes, we match these projects or activities to the rate of pay in your payroll application or your job costing application. So now I will log into the application as an employee and show you what the employees can do within the application. And then I will log in as a manager and show you some of the advanced feature as the time permits. And then I will go through your questions and we'll answer those. Okay, so this is our login screen. Again, multiple companies can be used, can be managed within the application. So once an employee logs into the application, the first thing they can do is clock in and out. So again, this is something that is done at the beginning of their shift or at the beginning of their day. They can simply clock in, or if they know that they're going to be working on an activity, specific activity or a project or task, they can simply select that activity or project and clock into the application. And as you can see, as soon as the employee clocks in, if a camera is present in the terminal, the application can turn on that camera and take a picture of the employee. Now, this is to prevent a body punching problem where an employee clocks in for a friend. So this way, we can take a picture of the employees when they clock in and out, and this way the managers can see this data immediately. Once an employee clocks in, they can either clock out from the system or they can take a break. If a break is assigned to the employee's shift or schedule, the employee will see those breaks here, and they can select that break and log out from the system. The application also supports user-defined fields. So if you want your employees to record some data with this clock in and out record, just like the one I created here, the job code field, you can create user-defined fields and attach it to any page in the application. So So any page in the application, you can just create a user-defined field, like a text field, a number field, a combo box field, a date time field, and you can attach it to the pages, and then in your reporting system, you can have access to this user-defined fields. So if there is any data that you want your employees or your managers to record, such as, let's say, a job code from your payroll software or job costing software, you can just create a field and customize the application and extend the application's functionality. All right, we clocked out from the system. So apart from clocking in and out, which is the easiest way of recording time, the employees can also create their timesheets manually. So if they're clocking in and out, they don't need to go to their timesheets and enter and make changes since they're clocking in and out. But if they want, they can use the interface to create timesheets. So here we have our calendar. The employee can just select a date and just specify the in and out times for their work. The hours are calculated automatically. Again, they can select an activity or a project, enter some comments, and save this record. So they can do this for each day in the application. And here, as they enter time entries, they can see their overtime hours and their banked hours. We support banked hours as well. So if the employee has overtime hours, and if the managers permit, these overtime hours can be converted into banked hours. So let's say the overtime hours can be converted into banked vacation hours. So apart from entering entries into timesheet every day, they can also see the whole period, the whole timesheet period, and they can enter time entries for the whole period, which is a faster way of creating the timesheet. So let's take a look at that. So here we have the same, a similar interface here. And here, as you can see, if you focus on the right-hand side, I have each day in my timesheet period on this grid. The employees can enter timesheets for each day, or in a quicker way, they can enter the timesheets for the whole period from this interface. So they can just select an activity or a project in this grid, just go to each day and enter time and comment for that activity or project. And again, as the employees are filling out this grid, they can see their overtime hours calculated, they can see their total hours for the whole timesheet period, and they can see their banked time hours as well. So once the timesheet is saved and submitted, the employees can submit these timesheets to their managers, and the managers can approve or reject the timesheets. When the timesheet gets rejected, it is normal. The employees have to adjust the timesheets based on the comments from their managers, and they have to resubmit it. So for the time off portion, the application provides an interface to the employees to request time off absences. So here we are looking at a grid. We are looking at a calendar. The employees can see the time off types assigned to their account. So here we have vacation and sick day assigned to this employee account. The employees can review their existing balance for those time off types. That being said, the application can track time off types in days or hours. So if you're tracking hours, the application can do that as well. Or some companies prefer to track the vacation time by days. We can do that as well. So here from this calendar, requesting time off is very, very simple. The employee just selects a period of time, highlights it on the calendar. They can see it on the left-hand side, how much balance they will have after requesting this time off. And as soon as they book this time off, this request goes to their manager, right? And the manager can get an email notification. The managers and the employees can sign up for email notifications so that every time a timesheet is submitted, a time off request is submitted, the managers can get an email, and employees as well. When their time off request or when their timesheet submission is approved or rejected, they can get an email from the system and they can be notified, and they can then log into the system and take whatever action is necessary. The application also provides an interface for the employees to review their schedules. So the employees can take a look at their own schedules or their department schedules in total if the security rights are adjusted. So here we are looking at the whole department schedule for this employee. Here the employee can see the activity that is assigned to himself or herself. The employee can see the location and any notes from the manager. Now this calendar gives a monthly overview, a weekly overview, a work week overview, and a daily overview. And what we can do here, we can export this calendar. So the schedule calendar can be exported, and we can import it into our Outlook application. So either Outlook or any smartphone, iPhones, Android-based phones can read this information as well. So we can import these schedule information into our email applications or calendar applications. Now I will log in as a manager to the system and show you some of the advanced features. First thing I'd like to show you is People in Premises feature. People in Premises feature shows the manager which employees clocked in and out from the system at what time from which locations. So here we can see the clock in and out record that we just created during the demo. And here we can see which activity the employee selected, or if the employee selected a project or task. If the employee is taking a break, we can see that as well in real time. If there's an exception associated with this clock in and out entry, we can see that as well. An exception can be, let's say, the employee is scheduled to work at 8 a.m., but the employee shows up at 6 a.m. Right? That's an exception to the system. And we can see other location details and time details as well. One important thing here is any time record in the system can be shown in manager's time zone or employee's time zone. So this gives you flexibility in the sense that your employee can be in a different state or province and maybe in a different time zone. So if the manager is looking at these records, they can see these records in his or her own time zone or in the employee's time zone. So there's no confusion in there. Now let's take a look at the scheduler component. The scheduler component provides a very easy to use interface for the managers to create schedules for the employees. The managers can simply select a department or a location, a physical location, and then the employees in those departments or locations are listed here in this control. And this control can give a 1 week or 2 week overview. So here we are looking at a 1 week overview for our employees. So creating a schedule, it can be as easy as locating an employee, just clicking on a day and entering the schedule information. So here we can assign an activity to this employee, specify the start time and end time. If you want to assign this employee to a physical location, we can do that. And we can enter some notes so that the employee can see these notes from the application. And let's say if this is a common shift, such as a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday shift, we can just set recurrence here, and we can say this shift recurs every weekday, and we can specify an end time. So we can say this schedule will end next year. So there we can just create a regular schedule for the whole year for an employee very quickly, within a couple of seconds. We can also cater for some common scenarios, such as an employee calls up and says, okay, I am not showing up today because I am sick or something happened. So we can just pick one schedule that we created, we can edit it, and we can assign it to a different employee immediately. So in a couple of seconds we can change the schedule, one employee's schedule, to another employee very quickly. We have some advanced features in the sense that if you want to access some of the advanced feature in our application, such as rounding rules or grace periods, we have to define a shift for that. So we can define a shift within the application, and when we define a shift, we can attach breaks, paid or unpaid breaks to these shifts, and then the shift definition gives us some advanced capabilities, such as let's say the employee's shift starts at 8 a.m. but they clock in at 7:58. Well, we can round that easily. Or let's say the employee's shift starts at 8 a.m. but we want to allow them to clock into the application between 7:45 and 8:15. So we can specify grace periods in a shift. And every time we create a shift, we can assign this shift to specific days, weekends, or holidays as well. And the shift, again, can be a simple shift where you define the start time and end time, or it can be a little bit complicated. You can set up rotating shifts in the application. So if you have a rotating schedule, we can do that as well. And for the employees who forget to clock out, let's say if they clock out at the end of the day, the system can automatically clock them out at the end of their shift in case they have forgotten. I'll just go over quickly over the overtime rules that we have. We can create multiple overtime rules, and these overtime rules can be daily, weekly, or the overtime rules can be based on the timesheet period as well. So you can enter any kind of overtime rules that you may have, and you can assign different overtime rules to different employees in the application. All right. Let's take a look at time off types. So the time off types can be, again, we can specify unlimited number of time off types within the application, and these time off types are based on policies, time off policies. So let's take a look at a policy that you can define within the application. So let's say our vacation policy is very simple, and we do 1 day per each month after a 3-month probation period. So here we can just specify a policy for this vacation. Let's say after start date we set it to 3 months. So after 3 months of probation period, I will set the balance of this vacation time of type to 1 day, and I will accrue 1 day each month. And what we can do, we can reset this every year. Let's say on the employee's anniversary day, we can reset the time of balance of the employee to an amount that we define. And again, we can define the time of policy in days or hours. We can specify the maximum balance for time of type. So let's say if we are accruing a unit each month or each week, we can specify the maximum balance in days or hours, and we can specify the maximum overdraft. So even if the employee doesn't have enough balance in that time of type, we can allow them to request more time even though they don't have the balance. So these policies, we can create multiple policies just like this and attach it to a time of type, and then we can attach this time of type to the employee, and then we can customize these details in employee setup as well. So this is a global policy that we define for our whole company, but if one employee is slightly different, is using a slightly different policy, then we can change this policy in the employee's setup as well. And again, the managers, when they get a timesheet or time of request, they can view those requests in the application, and they can also get email notifications. So I will go over the reports quickly before we go to before we switch to the QA session. So we offer over 35 free reports in the system: timesheet reports, time off reports, project management reports, schedule reports, and audit reports. So any report can be duplicated in the system very easily. So we can just copy one report in the system, and then I'm going to show you how to customize your report very quickly. Our report viewer is also web-based, so there is no third-party applications installed. So here we are looking at this timesheet details by period report. There is no data here, but I'm going to show you one neat feature that we have. So in this grid, we are seeing all the columns in the report. And here we can just pick one column, change the order of the columns. We can sort by a specific column, or we can group by a specific column. So let's say I want to group this report by departments. I can just pick up this department field, drag it here, and the report will be updated automatically. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the demo, we can have user-defined fields in the system. And once you attach a user-defined field to a timesheet or a time of record, you will have access to those user-defined fields from this screen. So you can just pick up your user-defined field and drop it onto the report as well. And the report can be filtered dynamically. So let's say if you have a different filter that is not covered by default here in our filter by screen, you can just select the field here, use our many operators provided, and enter a value to filter the report with your dynamic filter. And what happens is every time you come to this report, your report settings will be saved. So once you customize this report, next time you come here, you will see your settings here. And then we can export the reports to different formats, including PDF, Excel, plain text, or CSV. This is how we communicate with third-party applications, SAP Business One or any other project management or payroll application. You can just run your timesheet period, timesheet details by period report, and export it in a CSV format so that it can be imported from that third-party application. And one other thing we have is the email capability. So you can email any report to somebody from your organization. You can email it to multiple people as well. Here you can specify the subject and the body of the email. Or if you have an email template, you can select a predefined email template as well. And then you can set up a delivery schedule for this email. So let's go through a common scenario where, let's say, you want to send the time of reports to your managers or your CEO or your shareholders every month. So we can just run this report, attach our filters, customize the fields and everything, and then we can set up a delivery schedule. So we can say, deliver this report tomorrow, and then we can set up a recurrence, let's say 12 times. We can tell the system to email this report every month at a specific time. And we can specify the expiry date for this report. So let's say next year. So once we do that, the system will run these reports based on your filters and based on your custom selections. And then it will create this delivery schedule, and it will email it to your selected people in your organization automatically. All right, so that covers the time and attendance portion of the demonstration. I think we can go over the questions now.